Okay, my name is Tracy Wood, and this is my final project for the Developing World class. This is Tammy, my mom. This is John, my dad. So my country was Madagascar. And to start off, what do you guys know about Madagascar?
The only thing I've ever heard of Madagascar is those little children's movies about it. That's all I know about it.
What do you know?
That's pretty much the same thing. I don't even know where it's located.
It is off the southern coast of Africa. Just so you know. Okay, so you guys had a couple questions that you wanted to talk about, and we're just going to go through them. Mom, you wanted to talk about a current issue that's going on there.
Yeah, I was kind of interested. What are some of the problems that they face there currently?
One of the biggest issues is their issue of government problems right now. So currently, the president's name, his last name is Rajoelina, and he's kind of a lame guy. His qualifications for being the president, he was a disc jockey before he became the president.
Oh, no.
But he actually overthrew the mayor of the capital city, and his last name is Ravalomanana. And after this happened, the country of Africa, or the continent of Africa, thought it was unconstitutional, so they withdrew all of their funds from Madagascar and basically threw them into an economic crisis. And Rajoelina became the president unconstitutionally. So currently he's ruling. So they're kind of in a big economic crisis and government crisis. So that's one of their issues that's going on right now. Another issue that you wanted to talk about that they're suffering from is an issue of the environment. And I'm going to ask your guys' opinion on this. They have a lot of people there, and their main way of supporting themselves is through farming, and that's how they survive, is by planting their own food and eating it. But they also, in Madagascar, they have a lot of wildlife that's unique only to Madagascar. 90% of their plants and animals are unique solely to the country. And it's different than anywhere else in the world. And so there's a lot of animal reserves to protect this and wildlife. And so due to having so many reserves, there's not enough land for people to even survive and farm. And so I kind of want your guys' opinion. I mean, do you think that's okay? I mean, do you think that they should be able to just kind of tear down all the trees and kill the animals so they can farm and have the people survive? Or do you think it's okay to have these land reserves and try to keep these animals like lemurs and the fossa from going extinct? What do you think, Mom?
Well, it seems to me that maybe if they were taught some agricultural practices by people that were really, really smart about it. Like, I've heard before of American farmers who've helped Africans learn more effective farming procedures. So if the people in Madagascar were taught how to use the land that they have more effectively, they could produce more in a smaller area. And then the other thing I was thinking is maybe they could take some of the wildlife preserves. I don't know if this would work, but maybe kind of combine some of the different species that are so unusual to take some from this preserve and put them in this preserve with these others, as long as they don't kill each other or something. But you see what I mean? Instead of having 14 preserves or whatever they have.
They have like over 80 in the entire country.
Yeah, how big a country is it anyway?
It is about the size of Texas.
That's pretty big. Texas is pretty big.
Yeah, they're comparable.
Well, anyway, I don't know if those ideas would be
possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? What do you think?
Well, I can understand them wanting to keep the animals, but at the same time, I think humanity is more important than animals, and so if they have to sacrifice some of them, so be it.
Mhm. Well, I agree with both of you guys. I mean, I definitely think humankind is in their best interest. So,
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
I wonder if there's any possibility they could take some of the species and transfer them to other places, like Australia or somewhere else. So you preserve the species that are unusual. I know the government probably wouldn't want to, because that's one of the outstanding things probably about the island, is that it's that it's got these unusual species on it. But at least you're preserving these remarkable, unusual species if you could take a few of them and put them in some other region. I know that's always dangerous. They always say when you introduce a foreign, like plant or something in a new area, sometimes it can completely overtake the new area and cause a huge problem.
Really?
It's happened before. So, I don't
Does
know.
the wildlife affect tourism there?
yeah. I mean, they have so many like nature reserves. Like some of them are national parks that people can go and visit and stuff like that. So more people will visit because of that. And I know it kind of boosts our economy because a lot of like zoos all over the world are attracted to Madagascar to get their animals. Because I know like the Idaho Falls Zoo has lemurs that are only from Madagascar. So there's an example.
I noticed on your website you had a picture of lemurs. I thought they were sure cute. Liked them.
Yep. All right. So the next thing you want to talk about was the religion in Madagascar.
I was interested right away whether we had any missionaries there.
Yeah. I know 2 different missionaries who have been there. So I don't know how many missions there are or anything, but I know that people go on their missions there. But most of Madagascar is Christian. It was introduced to them a long time ago. And so that makes them comparable to a lot of the world because like 34% of the entire world is Christian or has some form of Christian belief. And so it kind of makes them similar to them. But I know one of the missionaries that went there actually told me that when he served there, he knew some people that lived on the coast of Madagascar that practiced like witchcraft and stuff and did weird rituals and things like that.
Yeah, sounds spooky.
Yeah.
What's the origin of their Christianity? Was there a country that proselyted them, or?
I'm thinking it was France, because they in Madagascar they speak both Malagasy and French. Those are their 2 main languages. Because French owned the French owned Madagascar a long time ago, and then finally they gained independence. And so I think it was the French that lived there before.
So probably, I'm guessing, Catholic, Protestant. Of course, I don't know what the main religion is in France, but just be my guess. So.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about what questions you had. And your first one was, what are the Millennial Development Goals? And I had a page about this on my website, but it the Millennial Development Goals are basically a set of goals that the United Nations wants to do with all of the countries, a lot of developing nations in the entire world, and just try to improve their overall well-being. And so there's a lot of different ones, but there's one to improve their poverty, get them out of poverty, improve their HIV and AIDS in all the countries, and just overall health, maternal health, improve the maternal health, and then child mortality rate, and stuff like that.
Would they be classed like third world now?
Yeah. So that's basically what they are. And Madagascar is doing pretty well on all the goals. I know they're not doing as well on, there's a goal about education, and it is to get every one of these developing nations a primary education. and Madagascar isn't doing as well on that goal. But I thought it was kind of interesting because in Africa, you always hear that they're really suffering with HIV and AIDS. I know it's kind of typical.
Yeah, I've heard that.
But when I researched it, it said that Madagascar really doesn't have a big of a problem with it. The biggest disease that goes on there is syphilis, which is kind of gross. But it HIV and AIDS really isn't that big of a problem. The only thing that they lack there is really education on how to prevent it. But yeah, so yeah, those are the Millennial Development Goals. Your next question was, how can Madagascar become more developed? So do you guys have any ideas before I tell you what my ideas are? Of what you think? Like, how can it not be considered a developing nation?
Well, one of the things that you mentioned is that they're behind on education, and I think that's one reason why they're underdeveloped, because of their education.
Mm-hmm. How about you?
Well, again, I may be harking back to something I already said, but if you're willing to accept people into your country that are from a better developed country, then and have them train the people in your nation, whether it has to do with business or it has to do with farming or whatever, if, maybe it has to do with fishing or marketing your products. But if you would be willing to accept the help of those who are really, really very, very high achievers in other countries, it seems like that would help you to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it seems to me that some of the small countries are a little bit unwilling to listen or inflexible, or maybe it's pride or something that they don't really want to accept the assistance of others, or I don't know. It seems like that might help if they receive some good guidance.
Yeah, well, and I think that can go back to having a more stable president in their country, because currently their president is kind of an idiot. And so, I mean, he's probably not going to be open to other countries helping them out. But if they got a more stable government, I mean, they could be more open to having other nations help them. Another one of my ideas is by accentuating, like, their opportunities, like tourism for animals, and they have a lot of trading opportunities. Like on my website, it said that they're the biggest producer of vanilla in the entire world. They produce more vanilla than any other country. And so, I mean, they have trading opportunities. And I know at Great Harvest, there's a bottle of, like, that we use for baking, a big bottle of vanilla, and it says pure Madagascar vanilla on it.
Oh.
And I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But, and then another thing is they have in southern Africa, they have some mining opportunities for mining the mineral ilmenite. So, and that's something big. But I think it's kind of a conflict going on, because it is on a nature reserve. And so they can't mine there because there's nature on it. And so it's kind of a conflict. But I think potentially if they could kind of get at their strong points, like tourism and trading and mining, they could get more money, which in turn could get them money to educate people, and build schools, stuff like that. So, because they are pretty poor. The last thing you want to talk about was the men and women in Madagascar, and if they were equal or not, and if they have any, like, equality issues, because a lot of them do in the main continent of Africa. But in Madagascar, it really isn't that big of a problem. And I don't know why it's so different, just because it's an island off of Africa. It doesn't have any HIV problems, and it doesn't really have equality issues with men and women. But women are able to own land, which in Africa, that's not, the main continent, it's not as common for women to be able to own land. And polygamy is also found in Africa. Mm-hmm. And in Madagascar, there's laws that totally ban it. There's, like, some rare cases there, but it's pretty much doesn't exist. And so that's not an issue. But other than that, women are pretty well accepted. Men do a lot of the, like, work there. They're the main, they do all the farming and stuff.